How you guys doing? Good, awesome. Thank you, the subject, for making this happen. The way I'm gonna kick this thing off is really I'm gonna make you all stand up and make you get a little interactive, you know what I'm saying? So I'll make you stand up and make you introduce yourself to somebody in the room that you don't know, that you didn't come here with, and you have to tell them one personal goal you have for 2025, all right? Introduce yourself, one personal goal that you have for 2025, and also one goal you have for your students for 2025. You got 2 minutes, so 1 minute each. You gotta be quick. Ready? Go. 2-minute drill.
I'm Jamie. Anna, nice to meet you.
Who wants to introduce themselves to the group? Share your goals. All that good stuff. Get vulnerable. Come on now.
All right.
That's what I'm talking about.
Okay. I'm Erin. I'm from, hey, hello. My goal for myself is to be more connected to the people in front of me and less connected to my devices.
Yeah.
So I know that's, I was saying it's kind of a vague goal of not having it, but I'm checking how my screen time and just being cognizant. So the bags last night were amazing. And then for my students, I am determined to have, we have our graduation wall of our students who are on track since they've come over to us with the credit recovery program.
Nice.
And have goals of graduating in May, and my goal is for any of the kids that has advocated for themselves to be on that track, whether it's by May, by graduation, 5 minutes before they walk the stage, through summer school. Before August, those kids will graduate,
Yeah.
and we should have 60 students this year that would graduate.
Nice.
So,
Give
thank
it
you.
up for you. Awesome. Thank you. Somebody else? There we go. Oh.
Hi guys, I'm Jamie. My personal goal is to do more line dancing this year. It's kind of silly, but it's like this thing, you guys, with like the 20-somethings, and they follow these Instagram people, and they go around, and I used to love it when I was early 20s, so I'm trying to do that. And then for my students, I run a virtual high school for students, and my goal is to get them all to apply. I have a 4-year university work group that I've started, that I'm taking a select group of juniors through the application process for colleges, and my goal is to just get them all to apply and feel confident about the potential of a 4-year university, whether they go or not, but taking them through the process.
Love it. Give it up for Jamie. That's awesome. All right, just because time is of the essence, I'm gonna have you guys do that again, all right? So you're gonna stand up, introduce yourself to somebody different this time, and what I want you to tell the person is the best and the worst money decisions that you have ever made, all right? Best and the worst. You're up. You got 2 minutes. Let's go. I know. I don't want to talk about it. All right, guys. Who wants to share? There we go. No, plenty of hands. I'm gonna go. Oh, I'm sorry. Hold on, my bad. I was going. He was the first hand, but ladies first, though. My mama don't play that, you know. So, but you next.
Hi, I'm Sarah Legaspi. My best money decision I've ever made was paying off my house early.
Nice.
And my worst is my current car. So a 2022 Challenger.
Nice.
That's probably the worst money. Well, besides gas. But I still love it. So.
Okay. What's worse about it though? I'm curious.
It's just.
It gets you from A to B, but it's a little. Didn't need it.
No.
Okay. Gotcha.
So I'm not gonna follow the rules.
Yep.
From the last question, when it came to personal plans and personal goals and all that.
Yep.
So my partner, Ms. Megan, when I asked her what was your personal goal, she started with students first.
Love it.
And that just speaks to who she is.
Who she is. Amen. Give it up. There you go. Somebody else? Money decision. There you go. Gotcha.
Hi, I'm Jamie. I think my favorite money decision was, even though I was like a brand new teacher making less than $50,000 a year, I decided to buy a house because it was a really good market right after the recession or whatever. And it was scary. I had to borrow money from my dad for the down payment. It was like a 3.5% down payment, and I was like scared to take a mortgage because I barely had credit. But I'm very proud of the risk that I took because I still have that house and
Amazing.
have the income from like renting it out. And my regret is that worst money decision is that when I moved down here, and that house is in Fresno. But when I moved down here, I had the opportunity to buy like a condo, and I thought, no, the market will get better, and like the rates will fall, and the conditions will improve. And that was a mistake because it has not been a very hospitable climate for buyers since then.
Yeah.
And I cannot afford, like, things I was looking at are like twice as expensive now, and I just been throwing money at rent. So. That's my least favorite.
Thank you. Can we please give it up for her, please? All right. I do that for a couple of reasons. One, because obviously, well, not obviously, I'll introduce myself here in a second, but I care about financial education. I care about money. I care about teaching people how to fish, right? Being an NFL player, being an athlete, what's rumored about us in the media is that we get a lot of people who come and start hanging on, right? And they come to you with every big business idea and also every problem. I get random Venmo requests for thousands of dollars for a number of different things, right? So at a certain point during my career, it was I can either pay you, I can either ignore you, but you know, random people is easy to ignore. Family members, it's tougher, right? Your uncle that you grew up with, it's tougher to just act like you didn't see his text, right? So, or I can spend the time to teach you what everyone is teaching me simply because I put on a helmet and a jersey every Sunday and I go hit people. And so that is part of the reason why I am so interested in financial education. I have some stories that I'll share with you guys, but ultimately, the reason why I do that exercise as well too is because what we just did, even though we did a really short abbreviated version of it, that is education. I got to hear from Miss Nicole over here who was sharing how she set up her child for financial success through real estate. Her and her husband did that, right? I have 3 children. There's no better lesson in the world than I'll ever be able to get, but that conversation for a minute and a half that I just had with Miss Nicole that just sparked the whole idea that now I can take and hopefully change my family and my children's lives as well too. So conversation is something that I don't necessarily want to say lacks in education, because clearly you all are in the classroom, but when it comes to financial education and it comes to money, which has always been a taboo topic or subject to talk about, conversation is key, communication is key to helping people learn through each other's experiences. One thing I'll say as well too before we get into it, I don't know exactly how many people are in this room, but let's say it's 40, 20 of us could be making the same financial mistake right now. And if one of us said, hey, you know, I went a little over on my credit card bill and it just tanked my credit score recently. I could afford the money, I just didn't know to not go all the way over my limit. Don't do that, guys. Then you might be able to save everybody in here the hassle, the headache, and also the mental trauma that they're gonna have to deal with the rest of their lives as a result of that. I'm saying that because I literally just did that. We just bought a house, moved from Florida to Texas, buying furniture, furnishing the house, have the money in the bank, but on my Amex, I just kept swiping. And so my credit score went from an 820 to a 780, and I'm like, oh, what happened? Well, no, I didn't do anything. Well, you just went over your limit. And then now it's going down even more. I just paid it off. However, I won't say if somebody would only told me because I knew it. I just didn't check it. Didn't think that it would ever happen to me, right? So again, the more I just want to share as we get into the conversation, the more we get vulnerable, and one of the worst places to be with your students is vulnerable sometimes, but the more we get vulnerable, the more we show them that we're real people. And you were talking about how do you connect with your daughters. one thing I can't wait to do with my sons when they get older is tell them, hey, I'm not gonna lie to you. I was making it up the whole time too. Daddy had no idea what he was doing. I was just trying to do my best. I wish my parents would tell me that, because it would give me a lot more of like, I get it. I get it. You were just a kid growing up as well. So with that being said, Holly introduced me, 10 years in the NFL, retired last August. My grandfather played 11 years in the NFL, so I had the perspective of understanding that this thing does not last forever, okay? So while some of my peers, felt like Superman, because you have to do it to go out and beat Patrick Mahomes or Tom Brady or insert whatever quarterback you want to there, I also understood my hero had 3 knee replacements, couldn't lift his shoulder past here, died with Alzheimer's, CTE, Parkinson's, and dementia. So for me, I understood, let me use this platform as much as I can to change my family's life forever. We've done a few different things, so I'll just keep pushing forward. Life 101, one of the things we did during our career when I was with the Jets in 2018, 2 things happened. So December 27th, 2016, my wife and I bought our first home, a townhouse in New Jersey. It's a rental property for us now. I was in Detroit with the Detroit Lions, and I'm in my locker. My wife's at the closing table. We're finishing up. I think we got our last game of the season against the Bears or somebody we beat, I mean, I'm just saying, it's the Bears now. It's the Bears. If you ever need a win, if you ever need a pick-me-up, you just look at that game on the schedule. I'm joking. It was a good game. But ultimately, my wife sent me the closing disclosures. And she calls me, she's at the closing table in New Jersey. The realtor's in there, the title company. And she says, hey, babe, how's everything look? And I'm literally going through 106 pages at my locker on my phone. And I'm like, I have no idea if this thing is right or wrong, but I'm about to sign over 30 years of my life to it. And somebody could be charging me wrong, incorrectly. Why? This is the most important decision of my life. I'm supposed to be posting on Instagram after this, my first home and all that stuff, but I really feel like I'm getting played, frankly. And so that sparked something. Second experience, August 2017, I tore my left pec with the Detroit Lions as well too. I was out for 6 months. For the first time since 4th grade, I wasn't playing football in the falls. I happened to be out, my mom comes to me, and she worked for Social Security Administration for 30 years, retired 2 Junes ago. At that time, she comes to me in 2017, she's showing me her 401k portfolio. And so I'm looking at it and I just start getting real aggressive with it. And long story short, my mother go through an amazing bull market and everything like that. And I'm very transparent about this. My mother goes from $224,000 in her account. She comes back, that's August. November, she's at $249. By Christmas, she's at $275. Years later, she's up to $838,000 in her account, right? Now, super aggressive, super bull market. I'm not sitting here saying I'm, Warren Buffett over here or anything like that. I'm just saying it worked out. My mom, the amount of pride that she had, every time she looked at her account, every once in a while, I know the market's up. Hey, check your account. She's smiling. She feels good. The tragedy in it, though, is if somebody would have told her this when she was 27, when she started, she'd be way beyond that. And she'd be even better in her retirement, right? But her son just happened to have torn his pec and happened to be sitting on the couch in August and happened to know a little bit about this stuff and put her in the right situation and scenario, right? So imagine what her life could look like. These are life-changing things, life-altering decisions, and all of these things, in my humble opinion, we should be talking about in school, right? Obviously, there's a mandate coming for certain states and things of that nature. I have some slides that I'm gonna push through really, really fast, but more importantly, this is your time, and it seems like you guys ask really, really good questions. So I'd rather open it up and use this time for you guys. I have taught at Penn for the last 7 years. We did build an amazing financial education curriculum here at Subject. 2 financial education courses, 1 cryptocurrency course as well too. And so our goal has always been to democratize the access to information, frankly. And my grandparents are from one of the poorest towns in the country in Mississippi. I'm from Baltimore, Maryland. The beautiful thing about what this team here at Subject is building is it gives everybody an even playing field. There's no excuse, no lack of resources. My grandparents deserve a strong financial education. The kid in Missouri right now, who we've never even met, deserves it as well too, right? And so, again, huge shout out to you guys and what you do. With that being said, okay, my pitch for why you should lean in to money conversations, right? Yeah, she gave the face of the, right? Zuckerberg, recently, everybody is very familiar with AI at this point, right? My wife works at Google. Zuckerberg recently announced that basically AI will be taking mid-level engineers' jobs very soon. The chief product officer at ChatGPT said that a senior associate lawyer would take 8 hours to write up a legal document that they just did in about 5 minutes with ChatGPT. So instead of you paying 8 billable hours to a lawyer, you can pay for ChatGPT to do it like this, right? Now, I say this because there's a lot of jobs and a lot of layoffs that are happening that will never exist again because they're going to find AI or a robot to do it, right? You got robo-taxis coming, again, trying to take people out of the scenario and put robots in the scenario, as you all are aware of, cheaper, potentially, less back and forth, more reliable is what the arguments that they will make. McDonald's and stores like that are revealing locations that have no people at all. And they're just practicing. So that by 2030 and 2035, with your McDonald's experience, you will never interact with a human being. All right? And so as the world evolves, the classroom has to as well. The mistakes you were able to make financially in the 80s and the 90s and the 2000s, 2010, there's less margin for error, right? So this strong financial education so that young people, when they go into these major life decisions, the reason why Life 101 was a slide earlier is because that's the name of my class at Penn. It's Life 101. We're talking about every major money decision in life that you will make: buying a car, your credit score, buying a house, insurance, investing. We're talking about all of it before you ever actually go through that decision, so that when you're faced with that decision, you may not be a rocket scientist and pull on what you learned in 10th grade, but you will be a little bit more dangerous than you would be if you have no idea what's going on. You never had this class, and we did the same thing here with Subject. So we have to evolve. Again, your students deserve a strong financial education, as you all are aware of, and I'll open this thing up for questions, but I'm going to assume you get into education to see young people thrive. You don't want to train, raise, develop a bunch of human beings that have to survive every single day. The reason why I'm in financial education is because of actually a couple of these stories. The first property I flipped, it was a house in Baltimore. It was a joint venture with a couple. We bought back the block, as we called it, next to Johns Hopkins Hospital. 6 properties. They were dilapidated homes that we turned into beautiful homes. And one young lady was buying the first one. And it was her first time buying a house. And 16 days into closing, she goes out and buys a car. And no one told her not to mess with your credit when you're buying a house. So a few days later, she tries to go back and close. Bank said, no, you can't afford this anymore. So now this young lady was driving around Baltimore with this car that actually, on paper, she could actually afford, right? She didn't think she was making a dumb decision. No one ever told her, right? But now she couldn't buy this house. what does that do to her mental wellness over the next few years as you try to work on your debt to income ratio and change all these things? All of these things that the realtor maybe have told her, if the bank maybe said something to her, her entire life will be different off of a conversation or a class. Fortunately, again, we talk about this in our classes and things like that, but these are major, major life-altering decisions that can all be solved through real conversation. The final story I'll mention, last year, 2 years ago, there's a publisher called HarperCollins. We did webinars for them, money webinars. My company and I, we did money webinars for them. And in the second one, we did 3 of them. In the second one, on a webinar, can't even see faces. It's the whole company, can't even see faces. We're talking about investing. And one young lady shares, we're talking about 401ks and things of that nature and the match and all of that type of stuff. And one young lady shares, hey, can you suggest some different 401k banks or some different banks or brokerages I can work with to invest my money? I've had my money in here, but it's just not growing. Cool, that's odd. And, 401ks are usually kind of set up like that. What is your bank? I'm literally commenting and chatting with her back and forth. And she says, JPMC MMA. Okay. JP Morgan Chase money market account. Okay. Hey, JP Morgan, pretty big bank. I'm sure they can invest it. I'm sure you can invest it, but the problem is you have it in your money market account right now. So you have to take it from that account and put it into an actual investment. And she said, oh my gosh, I feel so embarrassed. I've had my money sitting in here for 15 years, right? Again, how do I find that out in minute 32 of a webinar when her entire life could be changed? So this is not something that is like let's do this for good. Like, this is a must, frankly. This changes people's lives. And I'm open it up now to talk about questions and delivery and all that, or anything that you guys want to talk about, frankly. But ultimately, I really appreciate you all being here. I appreciate some of the feedback that I've gotten from the class and from the courses, and how engaging of content subject is working extremely hard to create. But this topic in particular, money in particular, is one that they've been really innovative around and pushing the ball forward on. And what we do in that classroom, we shot one of them right over there. We shot another one between a few different classrooms. Absolutely incredible. And I try to be pretty humble most of the time, but again, literally, I was closing on a property, and the title officer literally walked into the production room and closed on it with us on camera, live type of thing, right? It's Life 101 on steroids through subject, frankly. So with that being said, I think we have
like 5 minutes for questions.
5 minutes for questions, yeah. So I'm just pushing through, make sure we got anything. Cool. Anybody have any questions?
I have a question.
Okay, yeah. I don't know if you need this.
People can probably hear me. When we're talking about like 16 and 17-year-olds who are taking a consumer ec or a consumer ed or a financial literacy course,
Yep.
One thing we find is they take it, but they don't necessarily connect with it. It's kind of like going in and they're treating it like every other class, like
Yep.
a math class or whatever. And I don't know how much of that gets applied once they leave or even remembered. So what advice do you have for us in sort of priming students and getting them ready for that course?
Yeah. If you're cool with it, I'm gonna come off the microphone. So I think the biggest thing is conversation. The biggest thing is life. I guess as I say that sounds like, what the hell are you talking about? The first class we do, I make everybody get in touch with their why. What is the vision you have for your life? What does it look like? What does it feel like? One of the most powerful exercises I ever did, and I think we actually talk about it in the course, my football coach, my senior year of high school, what he does with everybody, he makes everyone write their epitaphs. And so the senior year, the last game of the season, right before we played our rival, McDonough High School, every senior would stand up in front of all the football team and read what they wanted read about them at their funeral. And You don't have a lot of people talking about what type of car they drove or what their spouse looked like or how big their house was. You have people talking about their impact, right? And so as you talk about money, what you're really, or being famous, you're really trying to get to the root of like, what do you really want? What does life look like? What does life feel like? Then some of the principles and things that we talk about on the journey of money, now you start to apply these to your life so that you can solve a math problem. So an example of that, we have our students at Penn right now, which I know sometimes it's like, oh, it's a Penn students. They don't know any of this stuff either. None of us know any of this stuff, right? Our government can't balance a checkbook. These companies can't balance checkbooks. It's just the truth. Nobody knows this stuff. So everybody is on a high school level when it comes to money because nobody is taught what a 401k is or what actually goes into your credit score. There's 5 things that go into it. No one's taught those things, right? So we try to make everything apply directly to the lives that the students want. And so while it's not a general conversation, it's hey, you sit down, spend time writing out what these things look like, and then now let's talk about budgeting. So now as you're going through the class around budgeting or the class around taxes, you're also pulling on themes of what this looks like in your life and how this shows up one day, right? Mm-hmm.
I was wondering, so I think some justification for how long it's taken to mandate financial literacy courses in schools has been that the schools are saying things like, well, they'll learn from their parents. And we know that's not happening. But I'm wondering, because you're a parent, I'm a parent, what are you teaching your children about this, like from a young age?
Yeah, great question. So I'm trying to bring my children. So I have a 5-year-old, 3-year-old, and a 4-month-old, all boys, right? Yeah, so thank you. Yeah, no sleep. You know, that's when you sleep in the hotel, you call wifey like, man, you know. How you doing? You all right? All right. Yeah, I couldn't sleep. The bed was hard. Full night's sleep. But right now, what I'm trying to do is incorporate them into my decisions. So I think about when in the NFL, you're around a lot of team owners, and the team owners, they do a great job of indoctrinating their children into the business. So their children are around helping out with the equipment managers. They're helping out with the cooking staff. They're in the front office just walking around, even as little kids, right? But what they're really doing is getting them to understand the family business, right? For me, I try to incorporate my children into, hey, I'm about to buy some Apple stock. You know what Apple is? Hey, this phone you like? Okay, that's Apple, right? So now when we buy the stock, you're gonna own a piece of this. You like Roblox? Yeah, even though we cut Roblox off, but you like Roblox? Well, they have stocks for that, right? So I'm incorporating them into those decisions, and the conversation will evolve as we get older. I've even taken my oldest into real estate projects, and he's videos of him playing around, dancing around, and I'm not saying that he's not walking out with notes or anything like that, but he's starting to soak it all up through osmosis, and it's also starting to change his perspective of how money works. Money is a tool, and for most of us, it's a burden at times. Not necessarily, for most of us, it hinders our lives, right? But if there is a way, whether you're a janitor, whether you're a doctor, whether you're an NFL player, there are some NFL players who are broke, right? There's some doctors I know who are broke, right? There's what we want to do, frankly, my goal is to give more people financial confidence. Financial confidence means you have an understanding of what's going on, right? You walk out of the door and you have a plan for yourself and a plan for your life. And everything might not be perfect yet, but you aren't treating it how some people treat the doctor and, hey, I'm just not even going to get that test, right? So that's what we look to do. And you just let me know in time.
I try to synthesize all my learning into one sentence so I can remember it, and I don't need it. I got a teacher voice.
Oh, it's for the camera.
Oh, for the camera.
It's for the gram.
So my takeaway from what you've shared is that we need to move from the idea with this new mandate that we're teaching about money to we're using life to teach about how to use money to have the best life that
Yes.
you want to have. And so as I heard you speak, I thought about the teachers on my campus that are going to be responsible for teaching this content, and they don't get it the way that
Yeah.
you get it, the way that you're communicating it. And so I'm worried about that, and worried about their ability to meet kids where they are to help them understand about money.
Absolutely.
So any advice you have about a resource or a tool that a teacher who maybe is going to be charged with teaching financial literacy, it's going to be a bunch of economics teachers who've been teaching things way over kids' heads.
Yes.
Kids hate economics, and now they're going to shift to a financial literacy class, a personal finance class. Like what? Oh, there you go. There's the resource. Got it. Like what? Because we got to start this conversation, and
Yeah.
you've given me so much on where I can start this with them, but I can't just make them feel good. This feels good, but then there has to be a plan to follow up.
Plan. Yeah, absolutely. So obviously, shameless plug, the book. You guys are all getting the book.
Getting us gifts.
Yep.
That's my boss getting us gifts.
So one thing I would tell you to consider, and you all are in here, frankly, because you're innovators, you're leaders, and we are counting on you. The world, whether they admit it or not, or know it or not, they are counting on you guys to create the next group of leaders that actually have common sense and can build with unity and togetherness and collaborate and all of that type of stuff. So with that being said, though, I understand that the barrier to entry sometimes is whoever's delivering the information, their own understanding of the information. So what you may want to consider doing is doing money workshops with your teachers, right? Sounds crazy. Nobody wants to talk about that stuff, but how crazy is it for a community of people to come together and all work on their money goals together, right? And so while you're learning and infusing these things into your students, you're also getting better and being held accountable to the goals that you set for yourself. If you look at a lot of wealthy people and wealthy individuals, they have real networking groups that they pay 5 figures, 6 figures a year to be a part of, and literally they meet and they go through each other's finances and work on how to make sure that they are securing their futures. We all don't do those things, one, because we don't have access to those groups, but there's nothing stopping us from going on this journey together, right? Rich Dad, Poor Dad? Oh, yeah, that's the new stuff, you know what I'm saying? But yeah, so this book we put together, it's been 3 years of back and forth. There was a first version of it. We had our students at Penn using it, and frankly, it wasn't strong enough. It was a lot of telling you what to do, right? And telling you what you should do, as opposed to, hey, this is what I think you should do. Now here's the exercise to go build it yourself, right? So that you literally leave this book with your game plan, your playbook for your financial life. So, there we go. Keep on, go. Yep.
I just wanted you to run back the quote that you said earlier about democratizing, but I didn't get the rest of it.
Yeah, so democratizing the access to a strong financial education. Okay, so the premise behind that, because of playing football, so 2013, I signed to the Baltimore Ravens, my hometown team, dream come true, okay? In the summer is when our union, the NFL Players Association, comes and they talk to us about the benefits you get being a part of the NFL. One of the benefits was, hey, if you play this long, you get this thing called a 401k, and guess what? We match it. And me, I'm a money guy. I'm like, hey, that sounds good. But I can't really focus on that right now, because if I don't make this tackle later on the day, I'm probably gonna get cut. It's the NFL, right? But a while later, I'm like, it's pretty odd. I went to University of Pennsylvania, Wharton School of Business. I've interned at hedge funds. I've interned at UBS. The quote on the front of the book is from Robert Wolf, the president of Union Bank of Switzerland, the largest wealth management firm in the world. I was an intern for him, economic advisor to President Obama. I had to make it to the NFL to hear the term 401k for the first time. Wow, who's going to teach my mom about this? Who's going to teach my brother about this, my cousin about this? I want us all to win together. I don't want to be pulling everybody up with me, right? And so when I say democratize the access to financial information, I feel like I've been blessed to be in certain rooms around folks like Robert Wolf, in other rooms around team owners and things like that. How do I make sure that everybody has the opportunity to be a fly on the wall for those conversations? And so that's what we did here at Subject. I'm good as long as you're good. Cool.
Okay.
No, I just don't want to mess up y'all schedule. We're good. Let's keep it going.
So question,
I'm
so
here.
for like those of us who work with students who don't have generational wealth, and
Yep.
probably a lot of us who are
Mhm.
people who don't have generational wealth, it can be overwhelming.
Yes.
To think about like where you start with all of this stuff.
Yep.
So I guess for our students and for our parents,
Mhm.
like what is the maybe the place to start for them, or the best piece of advice you have on how to get started with
Yeah.
this financial journey?
Let's, so I think the best way to answer this, and I'll do my best to be concise here, class 1, okay? Class 1 is what I always do. So I never wanted to compete for people's attention. I'm literally a New York Jets football player who would drive to Philly, teach the course on Mondays, and go back and work out on Tuesdays with the team. So I wasn't about to be sitting in there like, hey guys, pay attention guys. You know what I'm saying? Like, so class 1 was always a budget and your why. And what we would do is there's literally a budget that we put together with Subject. There's other budget spreadsheets online. The book offers some as well too. But what my goal by doing the budget, I literally make people walk through their dream life and their dream career, right? And they would go Google the average salary, the average rent, all of that type of stuff. And what you typically find is at the end of it, and we do that literally together as a class, people share, I walk them through the budget and we're going through it live. At the end of it, there's a lot of people who get humbled really fast, like, oh, I think the young lady in our class that we did it with, she wanted a Mercedes G-Wagon coming out of college. And I was like, all right. I'm like, okay. Yeah, I was like, all right, let's look up the average price on that, right? The average payment on that, $1,800 a month, right? And so she got humbled, right? But by doing that, one, I'm not competing for their attention anymore, because now you've just put price tags on the life that they want to live. And now some of them are going to be super competitive and say, okay, well now how do I go get that? Others are going to be, okay, well now what do I want my life to look like, right? Either way, wherever you meet them at, now you got them engaged, right? So I always start with the budget, but then I also the homework exercise that night is them writing out the vision for their lives, either once they graduate college, the 5 years after college, et cetera. And again, I think that to really hone in on your question, that's how you engage people in the material, because it's not about you. It's not about your life. It's not about Brandon Copeland telling you what you should do. Now the entire semester, the entire course, you're thinking about, how do I go get this life that I just wrote out on paper, right? I want my kids to do this. I want to be able to retire by X amount, right? Like now it's literally about your life. So I don't have to compete anymore for that. When it comes to being in a position where you feel like you don't have all the answers, I guess that's the best way I'm gonna describe that. You don't have generational wealth. You don't have everything figured out, right? The one thing I always say, the first class, is I am not an expert at all this stuff, right? I am willing to get the experts in the room to come answer your questions. I sat in those classrooms where teachers talked up here, and I had to go to YouTube and try to figure out what they were trying to actually say the whole time, right? So if you ever ask me a question that I don't know the answer to, I'm gonna tell you I don't know, but we can go figure it out together, or I'll go get a guest speaker to come in and talk to you guys about that. So we do a lot of bringing guest speakers in to talk about certain things, and I literally say this line: there's a reason why you hire a realtor to help you buy a house, a financial advisor to help you with your investments, an accountant to help you with your taxes, a credit repair specialist for your credit. I don't have the time to be good at all those things, right? But I am willing to find the right people in the world to come pour into you, right? And I think that that's what you're trying to do. The other thing I'll say on that is taking the pressure off of your teachers and yourselves to have all the answers is huge, right? The first class, we try to make sure that we tell everybody this is a no judgment zone. Everybody comes from different backgrounds. Everyone has a different relationship with money. So there is no right or wrong answer to any problem, right? There's sometimes you might have money in the bank and say, okay, let me pay down my house. There's some folks who are more comfortable with debt and say, hey, let me not pay down my house and let me go invest that money instead. There is no right or wrong answer. I literally put up a picture of Batman on the first class, and I tell everybody this is a critical thinking course. Batman was a wealthy individual who didn't really have a superpower. He just had a utility belt and a bunch of money and a bunch of tools. But whenever he was faced with a problem, he would say, okay, the best way for me to solve this one is to throw this smoke screen out. Or the best tool for me to solve this problem is the star, the bat star or whatever, right? Like, it was a critical thinking course. There's going to be certain moments in your life you're going to be faced with a decision, and then that's when the class comes into perspective. Then this stuff might not be relevant to you. Real estate, we go through real estate investing in our class and buying a house and things like that. It's not really relevant to a freshman in college, but guess what? Years later, when they're making that decision, they remember what we went through in class and they know what questions to ask to protect themselves better, right? And again, they're knowing we all might see the same problem or villain and throw totally different tools at it. Doesn't matter which tool you throw, it just matters. Our goal with the class is for you to understand the consequences, good and bad, of your decisions, right? Okay, thank you. Hopefully I answered that question. Cool? Cool.